Hey everyone, welcome in to another daily editorial here on the KE Report. I'm getting an update from Kuya Silver, traded on the CSE under the symbol KUYA, on the OTCQB under the symbol KUYAF, and the Frankfurt Exchange 6MR1. I'm chatting with David Stein, President and CEO. Now, we will quickly touch on the Silver Kings property in Ontario, as we have been talking a lot about the exploration, some of the discoveries that happened, and the ongoing exploration as the company is continuing to drill. But first, I want to circle around to the Bethania Silver Project in Peru. Now, the company just announced yesterday, October 10th, another toll milling agreement with the nearby San Valentin plant. And you also outlined some plans on how you're going to further develop the Bethania project to start feeding ore to this toll milling agreement. David, start us off with some of the, high-level details with this toll milling agreement, please.
Sure. Well, thanks, Corey. Yeah, we're really pleased to be able to get this deal done and announce it. Your listeners may remember we announced another toll milling agreement actually back in February, which was fine, but we've continued to behind the scenes do the corporate development work and talk to different plants, et cetera. And we're very happy to have a deal with this particular plant for a couple of reasons. One is it's the closest to us, so it's gonna save significantly on trucking costs. We also got really favorable terms, which we didn't announce the details of, but they were, and that's why there's a term on this of 2 years, is that to lock in those favorable terms on our side. And then finally, it's worth mentioning that our team has experience with this plant because we actually used it back before Kuya bought the mine. Back in 2013 to 2015, we actually processed our material at this plant. So, familiarity, great costs, and it's a good plant and a good partner for us. So we're really, really happy.
So can you give us any guidance here? Because you are right, there aren't too many terms outlined here other than the fact that you can start providing ore when you're ready. Any insights into when that'll start happening? Any other numbers you can give us here?
Well, so we still would like to sign an offtake agreement, to sell our concentrate when it is produced, and that's something that people should just watch out for. We're very late stage on that, and then I think from that point we will start the reconditioning and development program that we alluded to in the press release. That'll take a few months, something like 3, maybe 4 months, before we can start actually recovering ore from the mine. So it'll start off slowly, of course, but then it will ramp up. And the plan that we have right now, we're sort of putting a relatively minimal amount of capital up front and ramping up through, sort of as we produce. But that could be accelerated if we end up with a higher silver price, we're making more money, we get into a better market, et cetera. That development can always be accelerated. But right now, we're going to ramp up slowly. But even at that rate, I think we'll be making some serious money pretty soon. This is a very, very profitable operation in our view, and it's something where we can make significant cash flow every single month once it's once it sort of reaches towards a steady state.
So do you have a number of how much it will cost in total to recondition all this underground?
Well, we haven't put anything out, but formally, but it'll be, and it's something we're still evaluating, but it will be on the order of several hundreds of thousands of dollars, not millions, just for the underground development portion of it. And then the total, because there'll be sort of working capital as we're ramping up the mine, we don't, start making free cash flow until probably month 7 or 8, something like that. So there'll be some working capital required as well to get to that level. So it's not a lot. It's far less than what we would be looking at to build our own mill, which is really what I think people should compare it to. But with that being said, we still would like to build our own mill at some point. That is still the plan, and we've got a lot of the work, the legwork done on that in terms of designs, permitting, etc. But this is a nice, essentially, option for us that we can get started a lot quicker, a lot cheaper, and really change Kuya from an exploration development company into a mining company before we have to sink the bigger capital in for the mill.
Okay, so everybody should not be expecting revenue to just start coming in from this toll milling agreement in, let's say, the next couple months. But as you said, you're looking for this offtake agreement that could speed up the process. What would that offtake agreement look like, and how close could you be to actually signing one of these?
So essentially, we believe we've got a really, really desirable concentrate product. In particular, our silver lead concentrate that we would produce is going to be extremely rich in silver, very, very valuable, and and pretty clean as well. So it's something that the market has familiarity with in Peru, and that's why we're very confident that there is a lot of demand for this. In fact, since we've made this announcement, we've had additional inbound calls. And it's one of these things where this type of a press release probably has more impact with the industry than it does with investors. So we have a lot of interest for the concentrate. What an offtake agreement would look like would be we would commit to sell for some minimum period of time or minimum tonnage of concentrate with market terms attached. And in return for that commitment, we believe we'll be able to get some kind of upfront financing.
Okay. Well, David, when we get even more information or when we do see some offtake agreements signed, I'll bring you back on the show. And hey, if any of you guys have any questions on this toll milling agreement, please email me with those. Let's also talk about the September 26th news release, circling back to Silver Kings in Ontario. You started the 6,000 meter drill program. Just remind everybody what you're targeting in this program, please.
Sure. We made a new discovery back in March, April of this year. We discovered the Angus vein, and it was, buried under 200 meters of cover. So it may be one of the first blind discoveries in the cobalt camp, and that was obviously very, very exciting. Although, in the midst of, a pretty pessimistic market, we saw the value for that in our terms of our share price kind of evaporate over the past 3-4 months. So I think really now the market wants to we have to show the market that it's more than just one drill hole, and that's what we'll be focused a lot on. Will be the around the Angus vein and some of the other veins in that same area that we believe are the same and all are related to one kind of bigger ore forming system. So that would include the McNamara vein, which we found at surface parallel to the Angus vein. There may be blind veins at depth as well, because we definitely see that the structure becomes more complex at depth. And then on the other side of the lake that kind of bounds us to the west, the other side of that lake, we found another vein at surface which we call the Clark vein, and we have not drilled that yet either. So those will be drilled as well as Angus around our discovery area. And I think really anything we can start putting together here is going to make a huge, huge difference, because we're in the position now to take this from a kind of an anecdotal discovery to putting some more meat on the bone that the market can really value, that this is going to be a deposit one day.
So how many holes approximately will you be putting into expanding that Angus vein, and how many holes are you going to use to test some of those secondary targets like McNamara and the Clark vein?
Well, I mean, we're not really necessarily thinking like that, Corey. Partly because we can actually hit multiple veins at the same time, depending on how we orientate the drill hole. But I think a good chunk of that 6,000 meter program will be in that northern area between Campbell Crawford, which is Angus and Campbell, or Angus and McNamara, and then the property next to it, which is called Airgeod, which is where the Clark vein is. I would suspect that 80 to 100% of our drilling will be on that. It'll sort of depend on what we hit and how things go. If we do decide later that we want to move the drill, we do have other targets. We have many, many other targets, but some of which we talked about in that press release that you referenced. But I think we're going to focus initially on that Campbell Crawford area.
Okay. How long do you expect this drill program to run for, and what are you expecting some of the assay turnaround times to be?
So I would expect the drill program will probably take approximately 2 months, so towards the end of November perhaps, and then maybe another month to finish all the assays. So the assays will start coming in maybe even before we're done drilling, and then they'll finish up hopefully before the end of the year. I don't sense that there's a big delay in terms of assay turnarounds at this point in time. The market is pretty it's been suffering a lot, and my sense is a lot of these service providers are have quite a bit of availability right now. So I think the turnaround time will be quick.
All right. Well, David, thank you very much for this update. I will post a link to the Kuya Silver website and that news section so you can read over all the news releases that we just discussed. And as I mentioned, please email me with any questions. My email is fleck@kereport.com. David, thank you very much for this update. I'll follow up with you when some more news hits.
My pleasure. And yeah, thanks for checking in, Corey.